Well, hey, good evening, everyone. Welcome back to my little gardening show. Back down in the basement grow room and taking a look around. I'm going to try to start up some microgreens here in the near future. Maybe tonight. But I thought I wanted to just make a little update video, kind of bring you guys up to speed on what's been going on. I haven't been on YouTube a whole lot in terms of making videos, mostly because we've just been spending a lot of time with people. We've just been really busy with various things, right? But I think we're in a time where the seasons are starting to change, so to speak. You know, we're turning a page in a couple different chapters, turning a page, and as it relates to parenting, as it relates to work, and so on the personal front, professional front, and then the spiritual front, it just seemed like there's been a shift or a change. And it's kind of one of those things where, and I'm sure you guys can relate, where you go through a long stretch of time. For me, it tends to be like 5-10 years, whatever, where things are pretty well consistent, the same, predictable, steady, and enjoyable. I mean, we're making the most of things, right? But and then there's a shift, like something happens. Situations change, people change. New people come into your life. Other people end up moving away. Relationships change. The Lord has a way of just moving us on, and also, like, He doesn't just take things away. It seems like if things are being removed or taken, it's because there's something else He wants to put in our hands, so to speak, right? So anyway, on the personal front, the big thing's been just the change in our family, with our kids. I've got 5 kids, and 3 of them are now adults. They're in their 20s, early 20s, figuring life out. My oldest, she got married this past February, and that was just an awesome time, joyous time. One of those times where you don't know how much love you have for your kids until there's an event like that, right? I mean, I knew I loved my daughter and stuff, but I'm not an emotional guy. I'm pretty laid back, even keel, but man, crocodile tears that day. Just surprised by joy. Just this, it's just like perfect love, right? And the guy she married, he's great. We had about a year or so to get to know him. A lot of funny things happen along the way, stories that we'll have, be able to share and kind of chuckle about, in the future, but just memorable things, right? But anyway, she got married in February and, moved out. Now she's living her life with her husband, Fortunately, doesn't live too far away from us, about 45 minutes away, so we can still see her, and she comes to visit, and so it's been good. And I've got 2 other daughters who both are in serious relationships. Met some pretty good guys at the camp they were serving at. Each one of them met someone, and they're on the fast track there. So I've been getting to know those guys, as they've been coming around the house to visit the girls and stuff. And I call them the suitors. And so we've been having fun with them, but that's been all really good. But you just see, I mean, there's been a change already. We closed a chapter in parenting, and we're starting a new one, as our adult kids are starting to take off and move on. And it's definitely left a void. It's been a little bit to get adjusted to, because you're used to them just being around all the time, and now they're not. And so that's been kind of tough. But all good things, right? And then on the work front, I mean, this past year, really for the last couple of years, just things have slowly changed. Relationships at work changed. Friendships changed. There was definitely like a culture change at work when new leadership took over, and not all of it was good. Some of it was not good at all, and definitely if things maybe were handled a different way, there are people that are no longer work there that would probably still be working there, and so I lost some good friends, and I just wish there was something I could have, something more I could have done. I definitely learned from it, but it's just difficult when you've worked with people for a really long time and then they're no longer there, right? And it's not necessarily their fault. It was just like the culture changed, the job requirements changed, just some bad stuff, right? And then just on top of that, not handling some of that change real well, not being patient enough, losing my temper at times, that didn't help the situation at all, right? It's kind of one of those things where you wish you could do a do-over, but you can't. So I don't know. I mean, everything happens for a reason, and hopefully, my friends that no longer work there, hopefully they're in a better situation, where it's turned out better for them. And we're finally starting to turn a page there where we got through some really hard negative stuff, and some of it is that we had some toxic managers who instigated some of this stuff, who are no longer with us, and that's been good. So we are in a better place, in the process. I've got a great boss, mentor, who's taught me a lot about business and just decision making and navigating different situations and setting priorities and getting work done and all that good stuff. So super grateful there. So we're on a good trajectory now with all that, heading in a good direction. Along that lines, I had an opportunity to do more like higher level strategic work, which has been good. And then on the spiritual front, things have shifted. We were part of a local church. Well, really, when we first moved to Ohio, part of why we moved over here is because we felt called. Lord created circumstances that were just, I could make a whole video on that, but just orchestrated, like literally worked it out, picked us up and dropped us off from Indiana to Ohio. And in part of it's because we thought we were supposed to start a church, help build a church, do something in that in terms of like sharing the Lord with others, and advancing his kingdom, right? And so we bounced around for the first couple years, but we ended up finally, finding a place where we were called to be, at least for a season. And we're there for 5 or 6 years. We were there for a while. But this past spring made the decision to step away from all of that. And we served pretty heavily, we're involved. And then there were just some bad things that happened, some weird things that happened, and just what it did was it exposed our motives and the motives of others who were serving there. And you start off doing something for the right reasons, and it's pure, and it's you're serving wholeheartedly, and then it's like there's little things that creep in, and next thing you know, it's not about the Lord at all. It's about you. Or it's about that person, and it's next thing you know, you got selfish ambition and vain conceit that are mixed in to the service, right? Where it looks good on the surface, it sounds good, it seems to be, it's doctrinally sound, but there's just something off. And what it is, relationship. What it is like genuine love for one another, right? And there are some other things, and not to go into the sordid details, but basically the other thing was just, when you're a part of a place and it's growing, and then there's money, and there's buildings, and there's assets and things like that, then there's pressure to be culturally relevant, and to try to appeal to as many people and get as many people in the door as you can, and I don't know, there's just a lot of things there that ultimately got us to the point where we just couldn't be a part of that anymore, at least in the leadership of that, and just kind of evaluating, like, what is God calling us to do. And so, and there were some other things, just kind of personal things that, personally just wounded, hurt. I don't know if I can really put words to it, other than that, it was evident it was time for us to, like, the Lord was moving us. And so anyway, we've since then, ended up just getting together with some other folks that were kind of in the same boat, or different circumstances, and we've been doing I guess an in-home fellowship, for a while now, getting together on Sundays with a group of people. It's simple, just go through the Word together, worship, pray for one another, support one another, share a meal together. We usually do lunch or something, and then through the week we're in contact. So we're in each other's homes. It's just simple, and it's what we're supposed to do, at least right now in this season. Now, is it going to be, for the next decade? I don't know, but it's where we're supposed to be right now. And so, then the other thing that happened, I guess, so there's all this, like, upheaval in relationships this past year, relationships at home, relationships at work, relationships at church, and then with the family. My father-in-law passed away, and that was real difficult, just to kind of witness all that, kind of go through all that. So anyway, that's kind of like where things have been. Now we're in the middle of winter, kind of somewhat adjusted to all these changes, where it's like the new normal, and still just kind of just praying through things, and just kind of, yeah, just adjusting to it, right? And I think what's cool is like the Lord, He's a good shepherd. He's a good father. He knows what we need before we even ask Him. He's a gentle shepherd, and so He has a way of moving His children on in a way that, like, He knows our hearts, and and then that's another thing, friends too, moving friends on. My buddy Tom, who I've known for at least 10 years. We hooked up pretty early on when we moved to Ohio. I'd been watching his channel prior to that. He's moving to Seattle. So that's going to be kind of tough. Not that I spent a ton of time with him, but I'd see him throughout the year as, my cars are breaking down. He's doing our auto repair, and we talk gardening, we swap plants, and, occasionally, he need help with something, I come over and help him out, or I need help with something and he helped me out. But just a good friend, right? And so it's going to be sad to see him go. Excited for him, in terms of this opportunity he's got, but it's still going to be difficult. Just not having him here in the community. And then there's the garden, right? What are we going to do with the garden? Are we going to continue to plant a big old garden? Are we going to downsize it? What are we going to do this year, right? I don't have as much help. My daddy's getting older. He still enjoys it, but he's getting older. I got to figure out a smarter, more sustainable way of doing things, so we can continue to enjoy it and it's not a burden. Because I don't want to be a slave to it. I think that's the big thing. Is like, at the end of the day, people are more important than produce. I guess that would be flipped if like my life depended on it and we had to live off the garden, but we're not in that situation, right? We're doing it as a hobby for fun and whatnot. So the priority needs to be, family and friends, relationships. And so just kind of have that in mind as we're going into this next season, kind of thinking through things. I think also with the kids, though they enjoyed aspects of it as they were growing up and wanting to do other things, it became a burden to them. And I think they kind of resented me a little bit over it, that we'd spend our weekends just working, literally like it'd be spending a whole day doing, or a whole weekend doing like gardening stuff. It'd be maintaining the yard, mowing grass, doing whatever. Like we didn't do a lot of like trips or fun things in the free time. We just worked and tried to get caught up on all the things we couldn't get done through the week. And so just mindful of that as my younger two are still with us. That I don't want things to be. I still want them to get some of the experience and stuff, but I don't want it to be a burden on them. And so we're just going to be thinking about that this winter as we're looking ahead to the next year and kind of see what happens. But in the meantime, I have the winter. We do have some time, and so I am going to try to putz around, do some greens and stuff, take you along, with me as I can, and we kind of go from there. So I'm sure there's more we'll share as we go on, but I guess that's it for now. Until next time, happy gardening. Bye.